Hey, everybody, this is Steel Dad, and you are listening to the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. You can see on the video feed that I am by myself at the current time, but that should change momentarily. Ian is in the midst of getting children to bed. Ben is likely chasing his dog somewhere while the dog tries to go to the bathroom. And I'm hoping we're going to have our very, very good friend Craig come on tonight. He's going to tell us a little bit about his kids' charity and stuff that he has raised a significant amount of dollars for in the past. And he does that every year around the holidays. And we're getting close to it, so I want him to come on and, of course, give us his thoughts about the Steelers. He's about as passionate of a Steelers fan as you will find. Speaking of passionate, last week, the Pittsburgh Steelers tied the winless Detroit Lions 16-16. I look, I assume many of you that listen are probably a little older, maybe like our style a little bit more. Maybe you relate to us a little bit, but if you're younger and if you get real bent out of shape about these games when you lose, I get it. Believe me, I get it. I struggled for a long time with the Steelers when they would lose. And I mean, it was the kind of thing that would ruin me for the day, the night, maybe even into the next day or two. I hated it. And with my age has come a little bit of maturity, I suppose, and I deal with it better now than I have ever before. My wife could probably attest to that. But by and large, I do better. But man, that was a struggle on Sunday. And it just was. And we'll get into that. Joining me right now is Mr. Ben Anderson. It's good to see his ugly mug once again, as we did not see it last week.
Yeah.
And there he is, of course, with we're not going alcohol tonight. We're going with the nutritional shake. Is that what's happening here? Oh, there we go. Nothing quite like the nutritional shake with the beer chaser.
Well, yeah, I just got done at the gym.
Oh,
got to do that first. Priorities.
Absolutely. I literally have just started the show and was just talking a little bit about how my age has brought a little maturity and a little acceptance of these types of games that we saw on Sunday.
Acceptance of the fact that we should have gotten a loss. The Lions should get a tie. The Steelers should get a loss. Sorry.
Well, no, you got no reason to apologize because I told I don't know how many Lions fans that this week when they tried to harass me. And I said, hey, you should have won the game. I mean, we did everything we could to give you the game.
Yeah.
And you didn't win it, but you should have.
Because you suck, but you should have.
Oh, my God. I mean, if I'm a Lions fan and I don't, I do have a couple of friends that do a Lions podcast and I haven't listened to it yet this week, but how couldn't you have been screaming for the backup quarterback who can at least maybe throw a little bit? I mean, Goff was damaged goods. If he could have just connected on a few throws, that game is over.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's a tie. It's an ugly tie. There are no pretty ties in football, period. But my God, that was a tough one to take on Sunday. Well, it wasn't just from the aspect of it was so bad that you didn't have a choice but to take it.
Pretty much.
I mean, it was just awful football.
It was awful football. That's a good way of putting it. Yes. And I don't think basically anyone in the organization escapes blame.
No.
There were suspect play calls. There was bad execution. We got bad play from the quarterback in the center position again.
Yep.
The tackles didn't look good. The defense, what the hell was that? What was that? You can't allow the Detroit Lions who are already one-dimensional because their quarterback is hobbled, to get 6 yards per carry. What the fuck? What was that?
Yeah. It's not a good trend. If you look back over the last 4 weeks too, it hasn't been good. The run defense in particular.
That's not true at all. Against the Browns, they were very good.
It was much better, but
they were very good against the Browns. The Browns are an elite team when it comes to running the ball, and they basically shut them down.
Don't forget how banged up that offensive line is, and they were what would they have? Just Chubb, I think. No Kareem Hunt, right?
They had Chubb, but Chubb is their bell cow.
No, I agree. What I'm getting at
held them to 60 yards. I thought it was an outstanding game.
I don't think the overall consistency has been there. And when you're missing Alu, when you're missing Tua, it's going to happen. I mean,
Chris Wormley is just getting abused, and teams have now figured out that they can run right at him, and that he's going to leave a gaping hole. Now the problem this week with the Lions was, on top of the fact that Wormley couldn't maintain gap integrity, the linebackers couldn't.
No, I
don't know what the heck was going on, but they could not maintain gap integrity. And so it's just like every single time they got a carry, they went past the linebackers. And man, when you do that, you're going to get 6, 7, 8, 9 yards every damn time.
And it wasn't, everybody wants to throw Devin Bush under the bus, and rightfully so. He was bad. Joe Schobert wasn't exactly great either.
No. Joe Schobert did not have a good game.
Wow. Couldn't get off blocks. He wasn't. He's normally a very sure-handed tackler, and he was struggling.
Yeah.
Since
we're on the subject of Devin Bush, you and I talked about this earlier this week.
Yeah.
For a guy that the Steelers gave up a first, second, and third round pick to move up to 10th to take him, the fact that he is playing as poorly as he is, and that he's never been a good defender in the passing game, he's never been a good cover linebacker, is pretty disappointing. You have to wonder right now whether or not they're considering not exercising his 5th-year option. Whether or not they're just going to say, I don't know. Let's see how you do in your 5th, in your 4th year. And then, we'll look at it. Maybe we'll look at a long-term contract.
At this point, based on what we've seen so far this year, and I'm to the point now, I can't keep saying, well, he's coming off the ACL. He's coming off the ACL. I can't keep going there, because even if you're doing that, you still have effort. Some of the effort the other day, holy shit. I mean, he looked like a guy going through the motions, and that was scary.
He looked like a guy who didn't want to take on blocks.
Oh, for sure.
And it was just like, dude, what happened to you? This is not the guy they drafted.
It's not. And, I don't want to for any second belittle the fact that coming off of any kind of injury is easy. A lot of these guys in college and pro sports make it look easy. It's not. But that said, he's a shell, man. He is just not what we had hoped he would be at this point. It's been more than a year now. I think he injured that, week 6 last year, I think.
Right.
So
which is why everyone was hopeful that, with the extra time, that he would be able to make a full recovery and be 100%. And maybe he's not, I don't know, but he hasn't missed practices. He's been around. I don't know. The fact that they are putting Robert Spillane out there in their third down defensive package speaks volumes to me. They're pulling Schobert and Bush and putting Spillane out there, who can't cover anyone to save his life. The thing that he is good at is tackling, but he's not a good linebacker. And he's the best option? Really?
I mean, did we make an error bringing in Schobert? I mean, is he just not a fit for this defense?
No, I think he's a good cover linebacker. I really
Right.
do. And they needed that. So, no, he fits in that regard. And he's going to make a lot of tackles. He just had a bad game, man.
Yeah.
He's never been a great run defender, but he's good in space. Where the guy that was supposed to be the good run defender, Bush, who would create problems by penetrating, just hasn't been the guy this year at all.
Yeah.
And last year, the first handful of games, he looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
This year, what the hell? I don't know.
It's a mystery, and it'll remain that way until things change. Ben, I want to bring in our buddy Craig here, and many of you know Craig on Twitter. Craig is
oh God,
at Eye of the Storm Z, and he comes and goes like the rest of us quite often.
I think I can hear. Can I hear?
He is a Steelers fan through and through, and some of those photos I had to
Just
endure
lost everything
from his lovely daughter
Let's see.
of him sitting there during that tie last week was awful.
Sounds like Craig's
myself.
having some issues.
I can't hear you
having
guys.
issues?
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah.
you. Yeah, you're good.
He can't
Keep
hear us.
talking. Can you hear us? Oh no. Oh, the dangers of
Can't
life.
hear. Let's see. Let me
Okay.
try.
Yeah, mess around with
There you
your.
Okay. Now I got it. Can you hear
Got
me?
it? We can.
We heard you the whole time.
My earbuds must have crapped out.
Oh man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Look,
That's
and
okay.
Steeler case too.
Look at this guy. Unbelievable.
Embarrassment, just like the team. But anyway,
Well, Craig, I was just before
we
you could.
just covered that.
But yeah, we just talked at nauseum about some of the painstaking details of Sunday's affair, and your daughter put out some pictures of herself and you sitting in your seats, and I've never seen a more sad individual in my life.
It really was like kissing your sister. It was such a hard game to watch on both ends. Both teams should have won the game like 20 times, and so many missed opportunities, so many bad plays. It really was like watching a comedy of errors. Neither team looked like a professional team. It was bad. And I sat there for 4 hours and watched the whole thing with my kid, no less, who was even more emotionally invested than I was, and that's hard to do.
The overtime ending in a tie, you feel so damn cheated because you got to sit there the extra, let's say 20 minutes, by the time it actually runs its course.
The thing you're thinking of the overtime is there's no way neither of these teams can score in 10 minutes. That's what there's no way nobody's scoring, because you figure if you start at the 20, you only got to move the ball about 40 or 50 yards to get all these kickers in range to have a shot, right?
True.
I mean, somebody's going to score. And then to watch, like, the Deonte Johnson fumble is the one that really killed me. That's the one that really, really put a knife in, because they were going to score. Yeah. They were going to score in that drive. They had the momentum. That was like a 25. That was a big play.
I don't know about you guys, but my son was sitting next to me, and we're both screaming as he makes the catch, and you can see he's got room. And I just looked at him. I'm like, hang on to the ball, hang on to the ball, hang on to the ball, hang on to the ball. And you could just see it coming all the way, guy coming in to punch it out. And I just want to cry.
It was like Juju, and it was like that Juju play when you saw the Ravens guy coming to punch the ball, and you knew, and you could see it. The player can't see it, but you could see he's coming to punch the ball, and you're like, please just hold the ball. And he didn't. And that was because the Freiermuth one, I don't know, like a 55-yard field goal. I mean, Boswell's been great, but that's really
asking a lot.
that's asking a lot at that spot. So, I mean, we got lucky. Their guy missed a 40-something yarder to win the game, right?
Yeah.
But not only that, think about it. If their kicker doesn't miss an extra point, we're not even in.
No, you don't even get to overtime.
Right.
Yeah,
so
right.
we should have lost that. Like we should have lost that game because we didn't play well enough. We didn't play well enough.
It should be a loss anyway. It should be a loss anyway, as far as I'm concerned. If you tie the Lions, you deserve a loss.
I was going to agree with you, but then I saw what happened to the Ravens, against the Dolphins, and I saw that it happened to the Bills against Jacksonville, and I'm like,
been a weird 2 weeks.
There's no great team this year. There's a bunch of good teams, say maybe some that are a little better, but like, if you're telling me that like Tennessee is the best team, they're beatable. Like any team is beatable.
They might be.
I mean,
we talk about this every year, Craig. It seems to me, at least, and I don't want to put words in Mark's mouth, but we talk about this where it seems like the complexion of the league changes about every 4 weeks, where there are some highs and lows, and people need to realize that the NFL season is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Nobody's going to start here and maintain that for 17 weeks.
Look at the Steelers last year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they would have started out 5-5 and finished 6-0 going into the playoffs, it might have been a different story.
Right.
No. Yeah, I know. If you could, you're exactly right.
2 weeks ago, you're thinking the Rams are Super Bowl champs, right? Nobody's beaten. They looked elite. Their passing game with Robert Woods, they were flying all over. Their defense looked top 5, and now they just look ordinary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me who the best team in the AFC is, and y'all to ask you which week of the season you want me to look at.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be the problem with us is we had the easy part, right? I mean, what we thought was the easy part. This back end is brutal. I mean, some of the games don't look as daunting. I mean, going into Kansas City doesn't look as daunting. But if you don't have health, I mean, we're lucky TJ Watt escaped big injury. Ben's going to – I mean, there is almost zero chance we win this week with Mason Rudolph, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The only way is, San Diego. I still call him San Diego.
Yeah.
The Chargers' run defense is dog shit. So, I mean, Najee – like last week, it should have been Najee with 73 carries. Right. Like, I told my daughter, and she looked at me. I said, we got to go wishbone. And she's like, wishbone? I'm like,
wishbone.
I'm like, stick Snell, Watt, and Najee in the backfield and hand the ball off 85 times and beat them down. I mean,
I would have loved to have seen that, too.
We would have won. I mean, we would have won. We ran the ball great. So who do you blame on not giving the ball to Najee inside the 5?
That's where I was just going to go.
First down at the 6. Najee doesn't get a touch. I mean, Canada's calling the plays, but Tomlin could have stepped in and said, "Hey, you know what?
That was the RPO, right?
There were RPOs.
That's what they told us.
Yeah,
there were RPOs, and it's just.
The fact that you give Mason Rudolph an option, I mean, he hasn't earned that. I mean, I don't know, man.
Personally, I don't believe that Mason believes in his own ability to read defenses. I think that's been his issue from the jump. And given a guy like that an RPO, it's not a question of earn or not earn. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know how to do it. I don't think he can read defenses. I think that's why he won't throw the ball down the field when he has open receivers. He dumps it off. The guy's so frustrating. He drives me bonkers.
So let me ask you both this, put you on the spot. Do the Steelers grab a playoff spot? Yes or no?
As of right now, being all things as they are, I'll say no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
what do you think? Do you think 9 wins get you in?
Yes, there are 7 teams now that go. So there are going to be teams every year that have no business being in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, the Steelers are going to be one of them, which sucks.
They go 500. The rest of the way, they'll be 9-7-1.
Yep, that should probably get you in.
Should get them in.
It'll probably get your road wild card game. You're probably right.
Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I say no is just because I got a gut feeling we're going to have to start Mason again this week.
We are.
And I'm not sure I can find 4 more wins. I mean, obviously I can if I get picky and say, well, look at this and this and this, but that's what I'm worried about. Do I think we can get there? Absolutely. I mean, you get a couple of good defensive performances, you finally get some turnovers, and who the hell knows what happens. But just the way things are right now, I don't feel it. Let me real quick just remind everybody that we are listening to the SCB Steelers podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. DEK serves Broward and the Southern Palm Beach counties, whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, or condos. Contact DEK Roofing today by visiting dekroofing.com.
Dekroofing.com.
What's that?
Dekroofing.com. I like it.
Dekroofing.com. I haven't talked to John Deck in a while. I wonder how. I know it was hot down there last week. It was like 85 in Florida, man. We got 2 inches of snow in the last hour up here. Wasn't even supposed to snow. I'm sick to my stomach, just like I was Sunday.
It was kind of cold in Pittsburgh land. I'll tell you that. We had some snow.
It looked a little chilly.
Yeah, I had to take my daughter down to the Strip District and buy her a starter jacket. Not as retro as the one I was wearing, but it was a bit cold. It was a bit chilly.
It looked
in Pittsburgh land. I tell you that. I mean,
hey, Craig, tell the audience. Every year you do some awesome stuff to give back to people, and you're once again spearheading kind of the Kids Hope fundraiser and stuff, and tell us a little bit about that, and just so we can help continue to push it here at SCB.
Yeah, so for about 6 or 7 years in the past, as some people on Twitter know, I did the 12 Days of Coffee Christmas, which I started by myself, and then it kind of grew from there, where a couple goes to a diner in the last week or two before Christmas, and they just sit at the counter and they order like coffee or a donut, and then they give the waitress a really nice tip for Christmas, and then and I would supply the money, and we find people all over the country to go, and we got some great videos to kind of spread the word, and a lot of these servers were really appreciative, and it was really nice. But unfortunately, over the last 2 years, we had COVID, right? So going to restaurants and dining out wasn't really an option in a lot of the country. So I had to try to find another alternative to try to give something back. So my sister works at CHOP, which is the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And she's always been telling me that it's kind of sad around the holidays because there's a lot of kids that don't get to go home, right? So imagine being like a 6-year-old kid who's really sick, and you're sitting in the hospital on Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and it just sucks. So I got together with a couple of the people there, and I'm like, let's just do a fundraiser, a GoFundMe. And I started out with like $1,000 goal. And, I'm involved with finances a lot, and I have like a whole section of people that like to talk about markets and stuff. So I figured it'd be good exposure, and I can get the word out there. And then within 10 minutes, we already hit our goal. And last year it took off, and we ended up raising like $36,000. So it was great.
Wow.
And then the hospital sent me a list of all the stuff they bought. They bought these kids. They're like $5,000 each. These like huge gaming stations that are mobile, so they could wheel them into the rooms. So the kids who couldn't leave the room, because obviously it was COVID, right? So they couldn't leave the room. Everything was very. So what are you going to do? You can't leave your room. There's no common play area. So they bought these gaming stations, which were just ridiculously awesome.
So these are like PlayStations, Xboxes.
It had like everything at these big TVs and games, and they bought like 5 of them, and it was really nice. And then they also bought some like musical instruments and and things that the kids could use. So it was really nice. So this year I talked to my sister and she's like, you should do it again because our beds are completely full this year. So that made me kind of sad. So I'm like, all right, let's do it again. And I started it this afternoon or early this morning, about 10 o'clock with a $10,000 goal.
Mm-hmm.
And as of the last time I checked, we already had $11,000.
Oh,
Jesus.
unbelievable.
Good job.
So I'm pretty happy about. My sister just texted me. She's like, I can't believe the amount of money you raised in like a few hours. So she's really happy. I got a message from Chop. I got an email, which I posted, which was nice. They couldn't believe it either. They're like, you did it again. So it makes you feel good. So yeah, I think it's important that, for the holidays, a lot of people
absolutely
celebrate, but for a lot of people, it's not that great a time, whether, you're depressed or it reminds you of a loved one who's gone, or you're sick, or you're just, not in a good place. There's things you should do, to try to make yourself, be in a place where you could feel a little better. So, I think this was a success again. So I'm kind of happy, and I'm still considering doing the 12 Days of Coffee Christmas. I know COVID's still out there, so I'm a little leery about asking people who might not be comfortable, but sure. I might still do it anyway. So that's kind of where that's at.
Well, and for those of you that do know the 12 Days of Coffee Christmas, it is, the videos are awesome. When you see these folks that work their tails off, at diners and coffee shops and stuff, and they get presented with a really, really nice tip, and you see the true emotion of what it feels like for these people, and it's awesome. And then just to translate it over to what you're doing for Children's Hospital Philadelphia with those kids, and yeah, it's awesome, man. And do you know, are they, you talked about the gaming stations and stuff. Do they have anything in mind this year that they might want to do? Or?
So I just asked actually the woman tonight, I believe her name is, she sent me an email. Her name is Jenna. And I said, so what do you guys need? And she actually sent me a link with like all the toys and stuff that they are going to probably purchase, which I haven't looked at. I posted it so everybody can see. I like full transparency. So I really haven't looked at it yet, but I'm sure they have a lot. They always need stuff. I mean, one year, before I did the fundraiser, I actually took my sister. This was in Toys R Us was still around. So I took my sister and her whole department at Toys R Us, and I had every one of them fill up a cart. And we filled up all these carts of toys, and we drove it to Chop, and we delivered them right there, all the toys, into like this huge bin. I posted the pictures. It was phenomenal. And then we got to give the kids the toys, which was really, really special.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it's a great, it's something I'll probably do every year now because it was well received by the kids who obviously, and they send me pictures of the kids and the cards. Like they send me cards with the pictures of the kids doing stuff. So so it's, it's pretty good. And with the 12 Days of Christmas, I went by myself one night. I was by myself on Christmas Eve. I went to a diner. I sat at the counter. There was this older woman, she definitely a grandmother. And I was talking to her, and she's like, yeah, I have to work. I'm just trying to make a few extra dollars to, get my grandkids something nice. I'm like, it's Christmas Eve. She's like, yeah, I know. And I gave her, I don't remember exactly, but it was a nice tip. And she started crying and hugged me, made the owner of the diner take pictures. So I was like, this is a great idea. You know what? If we could get this to be pervasive. And now, I mean, 2 years ago, I had people in Canada. I had people in like Europe and all over the country, like, Green Bay. It was awesome. So yeah, it's that season, man. The season of Steelers depress you and you need a reason to be lifted up.
Couldn't have said it any better myself.
Right? I mean, like how many years? I want to see one more championship before I die, but I just don't know if it's in the cards. You know,
You lived through the 80s, right, Craig? I mean,
yes.
Oh God,
yes.
I had season tickets. I sat through Ken Graham in the rain. I mean, Bubby Brister telling everybody he's better than Terry Bradshaw.
Bubby. Jesus, man. Oh, you could see the guy starting to self-destruct. Yeah, I mean, we're about to go back into the franchise quarterback wasteland.
Let me ask you a question. Both the question: is it possible that we sign like Garoppolo or Wilson or Aaron Rodgers next year, or do you think Tomlin will push to have that kind of guy brought on, or do you think we're going complete whiteboard if Ben retires and we're just like starting over?
All of those guys are trade options only. Contrary to public thought on this, Aaron Rodgers does not have an opt-out in 2022.
Right.
His contract voids in 2023. Next year, he is under contract. Now, there's a good opportunity there to trade for him, probably. But would the Steelers want to give up, multiple first-round picks? And
I wouldn't mind Garoppolo. I mean, Garoppolo might be there for the taking because they got what's his name.
I agree.
Right.
So, and he's got. I think he's 24 million for next year, or something
he's
around there.
A real expensive quarterback as quarterbacks go.
Right,
and you could probably get him for like a 3. So that's a possibility.
He's mobile.
Yeah,
he's not terrible. He's mobile, and I think, like I said, my whole thing is when we drafted Najee, he's 24. He's only making it really one contract with us, in my opinion. By the time his contract's over, he's going to be almost 30. Right.
Because of Tomlin.
He's going to be almost 30. He's going to have 400 touches. Who knows how many years? I mean, not everybody could be Derrick Henry. I mean, he's built but
look at Tomlin's track record. He runs running backs into the ground in 5 years.
Yeah.
He's done it over and over and over. And the evidence we have thus far this year, Najee leads the league in touches right now. Tomlin's doing it again. Yeah. But I also look at the standpoint, that Tomlin doesn't really have an option. His backup running backs stink.
They do stink. God, awful, they stink so bad. So when I was at the game last week, when he came out, my daughter looks at me and goes, Benny Snell football? Is that what I came to Pittsburgh for, Dad? Benny Snell football? And I'm like, Snell. I got nothing for you. I got nothing to say.
Benny Snell
football. Let me welcome Ian in, guys, real quick. He's been patiently waiting.
Ian and his 12 kids.
Ian and the 12
Mark
kids.
wouldn't let me in.
I was purposefully blocking him. I was boxing.
Hi, Ian.
Hi, Craig. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
The funny thing, Craig, is the names you mentioned, I think, just as we sit here right now, and we'll obviously touch on it much more in the offseason, like Garoppolo's the guy I think is the most.
I like him actually. Yeah.
I mean, I don't love him, but for a year or two,
he's competent.
Yeah.
Right. You can win games with this team.
Right.
With Jimmy Garoppolo.
I agree.
Running the football, playing defense.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can win games with Alex Smith, you can win games with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, they're good, competent, smart quarterbacks. They're not the most talented, but they usually keep you out of trouble. He can make the throws he'll need to make to win games. And if the defense can ever be elite, the Tuitt situation's tragic, but if he comes back, that's big. We lost Tyson. I mean, our run defense is compromised, I would say, because our linebackers are.
What the hell?
Not good.
Yeah.
Our linebackers are lacking. I'll be kind. We know what we need. We need Kirkland back there. We need a monster, right? We need a guy who can hit. Yeah. And when you get hit by him, you don't want to get hit by him again. And we just don't have that. We just don't. I mean, Bush is. I know you covered him. I heard your.
Yeah.
Before, he's been disappointment. Schobert's good for what he is. I mean, he's not a run blocking stud.
Nope.
I mean, and our secondary, I mean, listen, Hayden's not getting younger. So, Minka is good. I mean, Minka's Minka. I mean, Edmonds has played better. I don't know if we know what Cam Sutton is yet. Pierre looks promising, but this is still a win now team to me. I mean, our offensive line is going to. I mean, if you got to win with Najee, that's your window now.
Unfortunately, the offensive line this year is not good, and they will be. I think long term they'll be fine, but the young guys that got along that line right now, especially Kendrick Green, are not playing well.
No,
bottom line. And, at least not consistently. They put together a nice performance versus Cleveland, but overall, they just have not been a very consistent line. Dan Moore, too. He's gotten his lunch handed, his lunch money taken away from him a few times. He's gotten his ass.
Can you imagine if Najee got to run behind the line that Le'Veon Bell got to run behind?
Jesus. He'd be
what kind of a monster he would be.
Yeah.
I mean, Le'Veon was his own Pro Bowler, believe me, he was really good. But the Najee style, I mean, he is special. He is special, but he's gonna. I'm just scared he's gonna be wasted. I mean, this is
5 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's got one contract, I believe, to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared every time he goes into a pile right now. To be honest with you, I mean, he just takes so many shots. I mean, I think back to the days when Jerome Bettis used to talk about I can't get down the stairs after a game. It takes me, all day just to get down the stairs. I mean, this kid, thank God he's got youth on his side because, man, is he taking some hits and just overall numbers that are weighing in on him. But as Ben alluded to, it's typical Mike Tomlin.
When last game too, I mean, I was sitting there at the game in the rain, and I said to my dad, there was plays where you've got 4 offensive linemen standing between the hashes, just looking at the play, and Najee's out by the numbers with 6 defenders around him. I'm like, he's trying as hard as he can, and they're just standing around watching him. He's not getting any help.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I mean, we do miss our old offensive line, Coach. I do believe that.
Mike Munchak.
Yeah,
it's hard to replace a guy like that. There's no two ways about
it. Especially with youngsters. I mean, when you're dealing with young guys who can use that kind of experience, to just be out there with. I mean, basically, he threw him to the wolves. I mean, we had no backup plan other than starting rookies, and offensive linemen are expensive, and we just had no. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like we didn't really have a game plan. We're drafting a running back to be a stud, and we had no plan for our offensive line. Something just didn't add up to me. Like when I look at companies and I do analysis, I'm like, got to make sure the pieces fit, and I'm going to waste my gem on a stud running back, but forget the blocking in front of him. We're just going to, play, darts and hope that we hit something.
Yeah. Like I said, I think long term they'll be fine, but at least in the short run, it's going to be a problem.
Hey, Ian, you were at the game last week?
I was, yeah.
Oh, wasn't that wonderful?
Man, that was. I mean, it wasn't the worst game I've ever been to. Somebody asked on Facebook or Twitter or something was that the worst Steelers game you've ever been to? And I was like,
are you kidding me?
Well, no, I've sat through some brutal losses. That was not.
Yeah, I mean, my family's had season tickets forever. I've been going to games with my dad since probably the early to mid 90s.
That's me too. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I'd say, one of the ones
94 AFC Championship game.
Oh, that's the only game I can't believe I'm gonna say this in public. It's the only game I ever cried after they lost.
That's the only game I ever cried.
Yes. For 20 minutes
totally
after
understand.
the game ended, and I actually cried.
It was such a letdown. It was so brutal. And you try and tell people that, and they're like, why? What?
They don't understand.
We were so heavily favored.
They don't understand, man. And you know what's funny? I'm going to tell you a story. So I did the Steelers fantasy camp, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years ago. And Barry Foster was the running back guy. Because they had Charlie Batch was the quarterback guy, and Yancey Thigpen was the wide receiver, and Barry Foster. So I went up to him like, Barry, I got to ask you, man. Did you drop that pass? I have to And he looks me dead in the face and he goes, son, that ball never even got to me. And I'm like, oh, damn, okay. And then I watched the replay and it kind of like got deflected.
Yeah.
It was like thrown like a second too late. Like O'Donnell was like a second too late. If he would have thrown it a second earlier, it would have been a touchdown. Yeah.
Oh,
I have nightmares about Alfred Papunu, Tony Martin.
Yes, I do too.
That stupid pass interference penalty. It was awful. That was the worst. That was
the most painful game I've ever sat through. Yep.
Yeah.
By far.
Without question.
Yeah. I think as far as regular season games go, that loss to the expansion Texans was pretty bad.
They had like 80 yards
total offense.
Yeah.
No, 47 yards, and the Steelers had 400.
They
lost
two defensive. We lost by a lot. It was like 24-6 or something.
Yeah, they had two defensive returns for touchdowns. We kept turning the ball over, coughing it up, giving them. Oh God. Ugh.
Hey, Craig, what are you drinking over there?
This is some Knob Creek.
Oh, very nice. Okay, all right.
I was going to take out your Bradshaw, but I save that for special occasions.
Well, I usually do too. Yep, I usually do too. Ian, what do you got going tonight?
Oh, look at that! Yes.
So I did not go with the Bradshaw because I only drink that after wins. And
after
tie
wins.
is not a win.
I'm not drinking it either.
No, I went with
here.
the Jameson aged in stout casks, and it is delicious.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah,
outstanding.
Jameson's good stuff.
Good stuff indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you know what? We got the Chargers coming up this week. They're 5-4. They're coming off a home loss to the Vikings. Here's I know Ian loves trivia and interesting tidbits. He already knows this, but I'll say it anyway.
And he hates referees.
The last two times we've played the Chargers out west, we've beaten them with quarterbacks Michael Vick and Duck Hodges.
I tweeted that this week.
Did you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what the hell? Let Mason start. Maybe we'll get a third guy to win out there.
Was that one of the games where Le'Veon Bell like jumped over the goal line and made it by like an inch?
Yeah. That was the Michael Vick game.
That was the Michael Vick game.
Yes.
Oh, wait. What's his name? Number 26 had a pick six, right? He used to the DB for us. What was his name? Bryce.
Antoine Blake. Bryce
Blake. That's it.
Right. Blake did that game. That's right. Holy
he had the sleeve and he took it back to the house. And I remember that. That was
right.
That was
they're looking. Maybe no Joey Bosa. Looks like no Jerry Tillery in the middle. So both teams are going to come into this way less than 100%. And Craig, you talked a little bit about the fact that the Chargers' run defense is brutal, 32nd in the league. So Ian, how do you get this running game going?
Well, it starts up front. You got to block, right? The Lions came in with what I thought was an atrocious game plan. I mean, running the ball on 3rd and long every time, but they started bringing in that extra tackle and basically put 2 tackles on TJ Watt. And TJ Watt's really good, but TJ Watt against 2 offensive tackles is one way to potentially neutralize him,
especially in the run.
Yeah, especially in the run. And they just kept, they ran to that side. Then when we started over pursuing, they ran cutbacks and counters.
When you can beat Chris Wormley with a one-on-one, I mean, why worry?
And we did make some adjustments in the second half. The line shifted over, so Cam was taking on that double team instead of, it was, after Watt got hurt, it was Taco or Derek Tuska or whoever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But, they moved that guy over to the middle and had Cam taking on the double team. And Cam started having success against the double team because he's used to doing that. And then, that's when they started slowing the run game down a little bit. But unfortunately, at that point, they were already down 16-10. So, you're playing catch up too. But at any rate, Zach Banner had 4 total snaps? And they were all in special teams.
Teams.
You've got a guy who
why was that? Ian, do you know why that was, by the way?
I have no idea.
Do we ever get an explanation? Is he still hurt or?
No, I mean, I would have thought you give the guy a helmet because they kept BJ Finney they didn't give Finney a helmet. When I saw that before the game, I was like, well, I wonder what we're going to do if Kendrick Green gets hurt. And Green didn't get hurt, but lo and behold, both guards got hurt.
Right.
So it was kind of like, well, shit. I'm sitting there when Hassenauer came in at guard, and I was like, what are they going to do if one of the other interior guys goes down and then Turner wasn't in there and they had to bring Haig in? Actually, Haig's not terrible.
He did a nice job.
I thought he played pretty damn well, actually.
Yeah.
He had 36 snaps, and I was pretty impressed, especially in the run game.
Yeah.
He did okay.
Yeah, he way better than what I was thinking.
So
Right.
my long-winded answer to what do you do is, like, sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone and do something a little bit different. And
You're talking about Mike Tomlin.
I know, but like maybe bring in an extra like tackle to help block. Like, you got to help the guys up front. They're getting their asses kicked. Kendrick Green especially. They had Derek Watt in the game like the first series and had some success with those plays, and then hardly used them the rest of the game. Yeah,
I don't get it. Like, we're playing a guy like he's like the highest paid fullback in the league, and he's good. Like, dude, let's get an identity where we just beat the crap out of you.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
Yeah. It's you gotta win up front. If Najee's gonna have success, you gotta win up front. And I would fully expect, if Mason starts this game, that the Chargers are just gonna stack the box and say, Mason, we don't trust you to beat us down the field, because everything he throws outside the numbers is just a lob ball that he's praying his receiver's going to win a jump ball for.
Well, I got news for you. And nobody's going to like this, but Ben does the same things with those balls outside the numbers. He throws them up and hopes Chase can outman his man, And somebody else showed me a diagram.
Stride a few times.
Somebody showed me a diagram. Somebody showed me a diagram. I don't know who posted it, and I noticed the Steelers never throw the ball in the middle of the field.
They don't, not at all.
Ever.
It's all outside.
That's true.
Where's the slant? Remember, Juju used to score it on a slant up the middle, like 99 yards against, I think it was Detroit.
Yeah,
it was Detroit, Denver.
Once in a blue moon, they'll throw something to Freiermuth like 8 yards up the middle and for a first down. But where's the deep in routes? Where's we don't throw every bend pass that's over 30 yards is the same. It's drop back on 3rd and 9, throw it 30 yards down the sideline, either Deonte or Chase come down with the ball, and that's it.
Speaking of that, though, I mean, I know I missed the first half of the show because I was getting my daughter to sleep, but what was up with, like, 3rd and 4, our game plan was just chuck it down the field. Like, they didn't have a 4-yard pass.
That's every week.
At Mason.
Right.
Or a check down that he could throw. Some kind of a check
behind
down
the sticks. Yeah. I think the difference with the throws is that it's those comebacks on the sidelines and those outs on the sidelines. Those are the ones to me that Mason lollipops, whereas Ben can still get a little zip on those. The fades down the sideline or the goes down the side. Yeah, those are just, I mean, neither one of those guys, they tried to hit Washington a bunch of times.
Ben's not very consistent this year.
He's not.
But he has thrown some dimes in those long routes.
Yes.
He has thrown some absolute dimes. So
Mason
it's like
just can't.
You wonder when it's going to connect, and when it's, usually that was just commonplace for Ben. That was what he always did. But no, he's not that guy anymore. He's
and I thought Mason did a good job last year against Cleveland throwing the deep ball, right? I mean, he looked like he had some promise. I mean, he wasn't terrible. He threw for 300 yards, and
he had some help. His receivers helped him out.
Yeah,
which they didn't do Sunday,
right?
I mean,
Well, that's the other thing is you're not going to win with Mason Rudolph when you've got guys fumbling the ball, when you've got you can't. It's
true.
I mean, Mason threw a terrible pick.
Yeah,
he threw 2 more balls that should have been picked
at least.
He threw the one in the dirt to Ray, right?
Yeah,
he threw. He missed a couple of easy NFL throws, one of which should have been a touchdown.
Yep. 100%.
And, I'm not going to say that Mason is the biggest reason that they lost, and I'm going to call that a loss. He's not the biggest reason. The biggest reason was the defense and their inability to fucking tackle. But
that was so bad.
Mason was a problem on Sunday. And if the standard is the standard, then he's an issue. And I don't expect brilliance. He's a backup quarterback. but he makes me miss Charlie Batch.
Yeah.
And that's really all I'm going to say.
Does anybody want to see Haskins?
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Mason
What
would
did
have
Mark,
to be really
Mark,
bad.
Mark just threw up in his mouth, I think.
I did.
What we saw of Haskins versus starters in the preseason
was
pretty.
terrifying.
What I'm understanding about his practice habits and him in general is that he's not super impressive this year to the Steelers. The fans want to see him. They want to see change for the sake of change.
You know, the backup quarterback's always the most popular guy on the team.
Yes,
Always.
true.
Which isn't
true.
Well, Mason Rudolph's not popular.
Well, you know, that's because we have Ben. But if we didn't have Ben, if we had, you know, freaking Trevor Simeon, then Mason, everybody be like, let's give Mason a shot. Let's give Mason a shot.
Right.
You know,
Right?
the other thing too.
How many years did we think Mike Tomczak or Tommy Maddox or Cordell
Tommy
Stewart,
Gunn,
whoever
baby,
was going to be the answer? And then, yeah, exactly. It's
but I think too that with Haskins, there's a huge percentage of Steelers fans who are also Ohio State fans.
Sure.
And I think they struggle to separate. They see the season that he had the 1 year. Oh, man, he's great. He can do it all, blah, blah, blah. No, you got to translate it to the NFL. And there's just too many things he doesn't do on a consistent enough basis. And I get it. People are fans. That's what we all are. But you got to be able to separate that part of it.
The concerning part for me is I remember he said he had a first-round grade on Mason Rudolph.
Oh,
yep.
You know, and I'm thinking, come on, man, you really you couldn't have. I mean, you evaluate talent pretty well. Like you make some misses, but overall, I mean, I think you do a decent job. But first round grade on Mason Rudolph, you got to be kidding me.
I had a third, and I'm sticking with it.
I had a don't draft this guy. He sucks grade on him, and sure enough, he does. I mean, he's going to be a career backup.
Yeah, he's a career backup. That's And I think the one thing I'll say for Mason is he's not the worst backup we've seen in the NFL this year. That there are other backups out there that are worse than him.
You want to watch? Joe Flacco's going to put on a great show for the Jets.
Well, and actually, you know, it's been interesting this year because
I wouldn't mind having Flacco. To be honest with you, I'd be okay with Flacco as a backup right now.
Well, the Jets are,
I'm not kidding.
Are a good example though, because like you had a veteran backup in Mike White come in and play good for a game or two, which is really all you're going to get out of a backup. Like if a backup plays good for one game, that's a bonus. But like he outplayed Zach Wilson, right? Who was the number 2 overall pick. But I think that just goes to show you that, like you said, the difference between a college quarterback and an NFL quarterback, it takes time for guys to figure out their way into the league. And, you know, sometimes you figure it out, sometimes you don't. But like, that's why the having a veteran backup is such a benefit over just like a guy you just picked in the 5th round and are just sticking in there as your backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted them to sign like a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick and just because to me, this is a win now team. And if Ben gets hurt, which he can, he's older, he gets beat up, he's a big target, or, you know, you want a guy that can come in and win you games. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, a guy like that, can win you NFL games. He can.
Yes, he can.
So
he can also lose them in hilarious fashion.
He can. No, listen, he can. But I think on this kind of a team, he wouldn't be hopefully expected to win games on his own. Yeah. So, I mean, we just didn't do it. Like a lot of the offseason, this threw me really off my square. A lot of the decisions made to not get a veteran backup, to go with these rookie offensive linemen. And I know a lot of it had to do with the cap constraints, but God damn, we just didn't have a real good battle plan this year.
I mean, part of it also was they just needed to get younger along the offensive line. Their offensive line was old last year, and that's why it was so awful.
And I think DeCastro threw everybody for a loop, right?
Yeah,
he did.
We all expected DeCastro to come back and be healthy, and he's not playing at all anywhere this year. He had the ankle surgery, and he's at home. And who knows if he's going to play again or not. That was a guy they mentioned, you know, a handful of people have mentioned, you know, how's DeCastro doing? Have the Steelers checked in with him? I wonder if he'd be willing to come back. And you have to wonder if he would.
Good point. I didn't even think about that. Like, I mean, I just mentioned him, but like, I never thought about, hey, picking up the phone. I know you're not in game shape, but maybe in 3 weeks,
Right.
you want to come play a game? You know, I mean, I don't know.
That's
a good point. I wonder if anybody's even reached out to see how he's doing.
They need a guy, and Dotson's going to be out for a while.
Right. A high ankle sprain, you're going to be out a few weeks. There's no two ways about it.
3 or 4, at least.
Yeah. All right, guys, it's prediction time. Sunday night football in front of the eyes of America. Players playing in front of their peers. Ben, what do you got for a score on Sunday night football?
Steelers 21, Chargers 28.
Oh, all right. Ian, go ahead.
All right. Well, as we talked about back in the preseason, the difference between a franchise NFL quarterback and just a guy is a guy who can get you touchdowns in the red zone. And Mason is not that guy. So
Ian, that's hurtful.
But honest.
That's hurtful. It hurts my heart.
And it's correct.
You're right, but it still hurts.
I mean, they had the ball. Well, they had the ball first and goal from the 6 and didn't give it to Najee once. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
We talked about that.
I mean, the one time they did technically score but got the penalty. But at any rate, Mason's not good enough to overcome penalties either. So at any rate, long story short, I'll go. I mean, and Justin Herbert is a guy who can score you touchdowns in the red zone. So I agree with Ben. 28 for the Chargers. I'll go 16 for the Steelers. I think Mason's good enough to drive us down the field but not get touchdowns.
Wow.
All right. Craig,
one touchdown and 3 field goals.
Four scores for both teams. But
Craig, what do you got for final score on Sunday night?
Okay, so let me preface this by saying that I know my kids are going to watch this. Okay. So that being said, I actually think that they learned something from last week and they will not make the same mistake twice. I actually think Najee Harris gets over 30 carries this game. I think he might get close to 40 touches this game. I think their San Diego defense is very vulnerable. It hasn't really been able to stop anybody all year. The Eagles were able to move the ball. I think the defense will be able to do just enough to win it. I'm going 23-21 Pittsburgh.
Oh, my God. He's the only one because I'm going Chargers 28, Steelers 17. I'm sorry. I think we'll be able to negate their running game a little bit. I'm just concerned with no Minka back there.
No Minka, no TJ. Your two
TJ,
best defenders.
Is TJ definitely out?
Well,
it's
TJ,
we know Minka's out with COVID, but is TJ definitely out?
Not definitely. Close. No, he's doing limited stuff on off to the side, but he's not practicing. They're just trying to,
I feel like he's holding out again.
He's jogging.
The way the dadgum defensive coordinator was talking, I didn't feel real good about his prospects.
Right.
That's for sure. But hey, thanks to everybody.
I don't know why you're afraid. I mean, Derek Tuska, we have him. He's fantastic.
Listen, we're going to eat clock. We're going to have 7.5-minute drives. We're going to keep Herbert off the field. I'm telling you.
Hey, that'd be terrific. We'd get.
I hope you're right.
Hour. That'd be great. Hey, thanks everybody. And again, thanks to Craig. And make sure to check him out on Twitter at Eye of the Storm Z, and he will have some stuff posted up there about the fundraiser for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Make sure you check that out. Yes, sir.
It's my pinned tweet. It's my pinned tweet if you want to take a read.
Pinned tweet. Check it out. And then I am damn sure he's going to be doing the 12 Days of Coffee Christmas too, because I just know that's the kind of guy he is. So anyway, thanks to Ben and Ian as well. And we'll be back some point next week. It is Thanksgiving next Thursday. So
everybody have a good holiday, by the way. Ian,
yes,
Ben, Mark. Enjoy your families. Have a great holiday. And when we talk again, you'll see that I was the only right one in the box.
I hope you're right.
Hey, and I'm okay with that.
Sign me up for it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope I was wrong, but I don't think I am.
But hey, this is the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by DEK Roofing Incorporated. And hey, go Steelers.
Go Steelers.
Suck.
Take care.
Suck.